Listen, one wet inhale, a tremor of legs, and the world votes yes or no. Out here, survival starts on the first breath. Mercy is rare. The weak are edited in real time, and destinies are drafted under iron hierarchies. Some ruled by queens, hyena matriarchs at the den, insect empires in the soil. This is where nature writes fast in blood and instinct. We will move through life's choke points, sun-blazed waterholes, reed-thick marshes, rookery cliffs, surf-slammed beaches, even the ice edge, places where births gather and predators converge. Lions test nurseries of antelope, crocodiles patrol the shallows, eagles watch for a stumble, orcas read a wave like a blade. Intelligence, strength. Can they outpace fate? Tell us in the comments where you are watching from and which moment hit hardest. "30 seconds. That is the window between a newborn's first wobble and a blur that rewrites the horizon. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, speed becomes a language, and the cheetah is fluent. This is the cheetah of the Serengeti, especially the open Ndutu plains at roughly 4,000 feet. Low grass, long sight lines, and a steady supply of Thompson's and Grant's gazelles, and in calving season, blue wildebeest calves, make this the perfect stage for the planet's fastest land hunter. Painted in gold with solid black polka dots and eyeliner-sharp tear marks, the cheetah looks like speed wearing camouflage. A small aerodynamic head and long, slim legs ride a spine that works like a leaf spring. Compress, release, lengthen the stride to the edge of physics. A deep chest houses an oversized heart and lungs. Wide nasal passages gulp air. Big adrenal reserves and efficient blood flow push oxygen where it counts. Semi-retractable claws act like track spikes, gripping dust at takeoff. Tough paw pads and long, powerful tendons store and return energy. The tail, long, muscular, banded at the tip, works as a counterweight and a mid-chase rudder, snapping the body through violent S-curves when a gazelle cuts. Lightweight bones trim mass for acceleration, while a flexible shoulder girdle lets the forelimbs reach like thrown spears. Even the coat helps. Spots break the outline in grass that seldom climbs past the shoulder. Built to explode, not endure, the cheetah's engine trades raw bite force and armor for launch speed and steering control, perfect for catching small, vulnerable prey before a defense can form. Cheetahs run the day shift. On Ndutu's short grass flats, they hunt in bright mornings and cool late afternoons, scanning from termite mounds, moving low, and using breeze and sun angles like tools. Success comes from choices. Targets under 200 feet away, fawns parked in grass, yearlings that drift from the herd, any limper, lagger, or daydreamer. The stalk is a slow dissolve. Then the switch flips, 0 to 60 miles per hour in a few heartbeats, claws digging, spine whipping the stride longer than the body itself. Chases rarely pass 20 to 30 seconds. Heat and lactic acid slam the brakes. A trip, a paw hook, a throat clamp, and it is over. Hunting success hovers near 50% here, well above lions. Because the cheetah picks prey, it can finish fast. But victory comes with a timer. Hyenas, lions, even vultures can steal the prize, so the cat eats immediately or drags the carcass to thin cover, panting hard while its core cools. Females with cubs thread risk carefully, avoiding thick bush where ambush cats lurk and steering toward open ground where their superpower matters most. During wildebeest calving, they work the edges of chaos, testing lines for a calf that strays. Win or lose, minutes later the plain looks the same. Wind, grass, and a ghost already planning the next perfect 200 feet. Cheetah society runs on solos and small teams. Females are wanderers, traveling alone across huge home ranges and only settling into dens when cubs arrive. 2 to 6 tiny mantled ghosts she hides in tall grass or brush. She shifts den sites every few days to stay ahead of noses and paws, nursing in short visits, grooming away scent, and keeping daytime schedules when lions and hyenas are less active. As the cubs grow, she teaches by doing. Soft chirps to rally them, stutter barks for alarm, and carefully staged chases where a tripped gazelle fawn becomes a lesson in how to finish quickly or let go fast. Cubs shadow her for 15 to 18 months. Daughters peel off to solitary lives. Sons often stick together. Males write a different script. Brothers form coalitions, 2 or 3 most often, that hold small territories along prime travel routes, marking posts with urine sprays and claw scratches and confronting rivals in loud, bluff-heavy standoffs. Coalitions hunt better and mate more, but they still practice the cheetah's rule number 1: avoid bad fights. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, this cat is both hunter and haunted, taking fawns in seconds, yet losing many cubs to lions, hyenas, and eagles if vigilance slips even once. The cheetah is the Serengeti's daytime scalpel. By targeting small to mid-sized herbivores, Thompson's and Grant's gazelles, and during calving blue wildebeest calves, it trims the most vulnerable, preventing booms that could strip the grasslands thin. Swift kills and frequent thefts by hyenas and lions spread food to scavengers, so one chase can feed an entire neighborhood. Niche partitioning keeps the peace. Cheetahs hunt mostly under a bright sun, leaving the night shift to heavier cats. Their kit suits the job: tear marks to cut glare, a high cone retina for sharp daylight vision, huge lungs and heart for 20 to 30 second sprints, and semi-retractable claws that grip like track spikes. The real threats are not gazelles. They are shrinking habitat, conflict with people, and broken corridors. In East Africa, conservation focuses on keeping open country open and reducing livestock clashes through community programs and smarter grazing. A cheetah is grace under a ruthless clock, proof that perfection can be fragile and fierce at once. In a world where baby steps draw hungry eyes, this sprinter embodies calculated risk and the need to protect room to run. A wildebeest calf hesitates at the bank, then 2 tons of no rises from the brown water. In a river where crocodiles hunt baby steps, the hippo turns the crossing into a crowded, high-stakes argument. Meet the hippopotamus amphibious, of the Serengeti's western corridor, anchored in the deep, quiet pools of the Grumeti River. Third heaviest land animal at up to 3,300 pounds, the hippo is a cautious grazer by night and a volatile landlord by day, sharing space and constant tension with Nile crocodiles. Built like a living riverstone, the hippo is sculpted by water and sun, thick, nearly hairless gray-purple skin, backed by a waxy, reddish secretion nicknamed blood sweat, works as sunscreen and antibacterial rinse. Eyes, ears, and nostrils ride high on the skull like periscopes, so a hippo can breathe, watch, and listen while everything else stays submerged. Muscular valves seal the nostrils. A semi-transparent membrane shields the eyes. Dense, heavy bones act as ballast, letting them walk the riverbed instead of floating like corks, while webbed toes and pillar-strong legs drive quiet, underwater strides. The mouth is an engineering flex, a 150-degree gape armed with ivory canines that can exceed 20 inches. Weapons for fighting, not eating. Lips are thick and prehensile, clipping grass low like a lawnmower, and a multi-chambered stomach helps break down tough forage, even though the hippo is not a true ruminant. Heat control is part chemistry, part schedule. Bask at dawn, sink at noon, graze under moon. Evolution's punchline? This river horse is more closely related to whales and dolphins than to any cow, a cousin from 55 million years back that never forgot how to live half in the water and half out. Daylight belongs to the pool. Hippos pack into rafts, bodies touching, dozing with nostrils surfacing like metronomes every few minutes. Bulls patrol the margins, yawning wide in threat displays and painting boundaries with spinning tails and sprayed dung. A smelly billboard no neighbor can miss. Crocodiles loaf nearby, but peace is conditional. A hippo with a calf becomes a battering ram, and crocs learn to give the nursery a wide berth. Come dusk, the river exhales its giants. One by one, they step out, following memorized paths into grasslands, trimming up to 88 pounds of vegetation per night. Those hippo highways punch tunnels through bush that other animals, jackals, antelope, even lions on the hunt, use like free infrastructure. Along the banks, lion and hyena watch for juveniles that lag behind the herd. A mother will wheel around to shield her calf, forming a living wall with neighbors if trouble persists. Back in the water by dawn, they churn mud, seed new channels, and enrich the river with dung that feeds fish and invertebrates. In migration season, when calves spill into the grumeti, the surface becomes a chessboard. Crocodiles lurking, hippos holding lines, and every tiny life trying to thread the narrowest path between teeth and temper. A hippo pod is a waterborne neighborhood with rules you can hear. In the grumeti's deep pools, one dominant bull holds court over a harem of females and their calves, often 10 to 20 bodies packed nose to tail by day. Rank is announced, not negotiated. Canyon-wide yawns that flash saber-long canines, thunderous wheeze honks, and those spinning-tail dung sprays that redecorate the riverbank with keep-out signs. Rival males test the line, and, in bad seasons, clashes can turn surgical, slashes that leave scars or end rains. Females knit the pod together. Calves are born in shallow water or on quiet banks, then nurse underwater, surfacing like tiny corks beside their mothers. When a crocodile ghosts too close or a lion prowls the margin, cows close ranks, forming a living wall, nudging calves into the calm center. Mothers will body block a threat or escort a drifting youngster back upstream, and neighbors often shadow the nursery like bouncers. Nights are looser. Individuals fan out to graze, then converge at dawn along familiar hippo highways. Tension with Nile crocodiles is constant but conditional. Most days it is a cold truce, but a croc that tests the nursery finds 2 tons of no arriving fast. During the wildebeest migration, pods can unintentionally play traffic cop, herding swimmers away from their babies, sometimes opening a safe lane, sometimes turning a crossing into a loud, crowded standoff. In a world where the deadliest predators watch for the smallest mistakes, Hippo Society answers with numbers, noise, and an unblinking eye on the center of the pod. Hippos are river engineers disguised as lawnmowers. Each night, they trim roughly 88 pounds of grass, then return at dawn along cut corridors that other animals, jackals, antelope, even big cats, use like freeways. Those paths also guide runoff, keeping side channels open in the dry season and helping the grumeti keep its slow pulse. In the water, hippo dung is fertilizer on tap, seeding blooms of microorganisms and invertebrates that feed fish, terrapins, and birds, a nutrient conveyor belting energy from land to river and back again. Their sheer bulk plows mud, scours pools, and creates refuges where fry and frogs shelter when banks bake. By occupying key pools at crossing points, hippos subtly shape where herds attempt to ford, sometimes easing passage, sometimes forcing a detour that spares a trampled bank downstream. They are built for the job, dense bones for underwater walking, high-set eyes and nostrils for periscope breathing, tight sealing valves and lids for submerged naps, and that famous reddish blood sweat that acts like sunscreen and antiseptic on nearly hairless skin. The big risks are not teeth, but taps, shrinking flows, water extraction, snares, and retaliation where fields press against rivers. Keep the corridor wet and wide, and hippos keep doing the quiet work that makes a river alive. The hippo is a paradox in plain sight, gentle grazer by moonlight, immovable force by day, tender with a calf and terrifying when a boundary is crossed. In a landscape where baby steps can summon jaws, this river horse reminds us that strength, rightly placed, becomes shelter. Guard the water, and the nursery holds. On a savanna where baby steps sound like dinner bells, the tallest mothers on Earth answer with altitude and a pendulum kick that can stop a lion mid-leap. Meet the Maasai giraffe of Tanzania and Kenya, from the Serengeti's rolling grasslands to the Ngorongoro Olduvai Gorge. Standing up to nearly 20 feet with vine-dark patches and sky-high eyes, it turns height into an early warning system, while an 18-inch tongue turns thorn trees into salad bars. Painted in jagged leaf-shaped spots edged in cream, the Maasai giraffe looks like a sunrise broken by branches, beautiful and built for purpose. A long, elastic neck rides a reinforced spine and a thick nuchal ligament, holding a head crowned with skin-covered horns called ossicones. Huge, velvet-rimmed eyes and sweepy lashes shield glare and thorns, while ears swivel like radar. The mouth is a miracle of armor, a tough, prehensile tongue, darkly pigmented to resist sunburn, and leather-thick lips slide past acacia spines to pluck tender leaves. Below, stilt-long legs end in dinner-plate hooves that bite dusty ground and deliver fight-stopping kicks. Inside, a power heart and pressure valve vessels keep blood from surging the brain when the head dips to drink. When predators lurk at water holes, that plumbing buys precious seconds. wrinkled skin holds dust and cool moisture, and the sheer tower of body gives a panoramic view. Food above the crowd, threats spotted while they are still rumors in the grass. Daylight belongs to browsing. Maasai giraffes drift between umbrella thorn acacias, using that 18-inch tongue to snag shoots and strip 60 to 75 pounds of leaves a day. They chew, swallow, bring it back up, and chew again, the quiet rhythm of a ruminant running on tough greens. In the heat, they loaf in light shade, legs locked, eyes dozing while jaws keep working. Water is optional. Moisture in leaves carries them for days, though in the Olduvai dry months they will visit a stream, legs splayed, head down, a vulnerable posture everyone knows. That is why vigilance is a team sport. One scans while others drink, then they rotate. Calves are born into gravity's boot camp, dropping 6 feet, standing within an hour, running by day 2 because lions and hyenas do not grade on effort. Nursery groups form as mothers feed nearby. When a shape moves wrong, cows pivot as one, placing the youngest to the middle. If a predator tests the ring, the answer is kinetic, a forward strike like a hammer, a sideways kick that can break ribs or worse. Most hunters peel off. The ones that do not learn why the tallest herbivore is still nobody's easy meal. Giraffe society is fluid, more coffee shop than courthouse. Females and calves drift in loose fission-fusion groups that swell and shrink through the day, sharing shade trees and watch duty. New mothers often park their youngsters in nursery creches, where 1 or 2 vigilant cows babysit while the others browse nearby, returning in cycles to nurse. Calves learn the rules fast, stay in the lee of a mother's legs, freeze when she stiffens, run when the air changes shape. Communication is understated, tail flicks, neck angles, hoof stamps, soft snorts, and every head that lifts is a signal others read. Males operate differently. Young bulls form roaming bachelor crews, sparring in ritual necking bouts, slow swings that thud ossicone against rib to sort rank without wrecking each other. The strongest take wider circuits, looking for receptive females. The rest keep practicing until one day the pendulum swings in their favor. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, these gentle routines harden. Cows pivot into a loose ring with calves tucked inside, eyes wide, legs set. A wrong move from a lion or hyena meets a forward strike like a sledge and a sideways kick that can fold a rib cage. Bulls sometimes wade in too, necks lowered like battering rams. Most hunters do the math and peel off. The risk is not worth the meal. The Maasai giraffe is a landscaper in slow motion. By browsing high foliage, especially umbrella thorn acacia, they keep shrub canopies in check, letting light reach the grasses that feed zebras, wildebeest, and gazelles. Each mouthful is a vote for open savanna over closed thicket. Seeds hitch rides on fur or pass through the gut, landing in nutrient-rich dung that improves soil structure and jump-starts germination. Beetles, termites, and a whole micro-army follow, recycling that fertilizer back into the system. Paths worn by those long legs become safe corridors other species adopt. And because a giraffe's skyline eyes spot trouble early, nearby herds often key off their posture. The tallest mammal becomes a living watchtower for the neighborhood. Adaptations make this stewardship possible even in hard years. The ability to go days without drinking, extracting moisture from leaves, a tough, dark tongue and leather-thick lips to harvest thorn-guarded foods, and calm vigilance that conserves energy in heat. But their future is not guaranteed. Numbers have fallen from habitat loss to farms, the push of climate change and poaching. The Serengeti and Ngorongoro Olduvai landscapes remain strongholds, reminders that when we protect corridors and thorny browse, we protect a keystone grazer and the grasslands it helps hold together, tall as a story and twigs. At first light, the lake blushes, and then it moves. In a world where the deadliest hunters stalk baby steps, these birds build their nursery inside a moat of chemistry no paw wants to cross. Meet the lesser flamingo of East Africa's soda lakes, Ndutu and Masek on the Serengeti's fringe, with mighty Lake Natron as the great nursery when conditions align. They travel hundreds of miles to find alkaline shallows where food blooms pink and predators hesitate. The lesser flamingo is elegance, rewritten by minerals. Smaller than its greater cousin, it wears a blush that deepens with dinner. Carotenoids from cyanobacteria, often called spirulina, tinting white feathers into watercolor pinks. A long S-curved neck and stilt-length legs lift the body clear of caustic brine, while broad webbed feet spread weight over mud that would swallow a hoof. The bill is the magic trick, deep-keeled, sharply downturned, lined with fine lamellae that act like sieves. They feed upside down, sweeping the water while a piston-like tongue pumps, filtering microscopic algae and bacteria from the brine. Above the eyes sit powerhouse salt glands that weep excess salt like tiny desalinization plants, turning a toxic soup into a safe meal. Tough, alkali-resistant skin armors the legs and feet. A pale mask and dark bill tip finish the look. When water falls just right on Ndutu's flats, they sculpt conical mud nests, little volcanoes tall enough to keep a single chalk-white egg above floods and scorching ground. Open water, long sightlines, and chemistry are their camouflage. Where a lion's paw would burn and crack, a flamingo simply wades on. Dawn is choreography. Thousands drift into shallow pans, heads flip upside down, and a soft vacuuming hush spreads as they scythe the water. Lesser flamingos are masters of synchronization, traveling in huge flocks, calling and mirroring body language to keep cohesion in a world of shifting shorelines. Courtship is a chorus line, mass marching, head flagging, and wing salutes that flash jet-black flight feathers against pink bodies, forging pairs before nest building begins. On Ndutu's soda edges, and more reliably, at Lake Natron, pairs stack damp mud into castles no jackal can reach unless the lake pulls back. Both parents incubate for about 4 weeks. Chicks hatch gray and straight-billed, fed a rich red crop milk from both adults. Within days, they join creches, nursery mobs of thousands guarded by a rotating picket of adults. Each parent knows their chick by voice in this pink kindergarten, threading through the crowd at feeding times like a GPS ping. Predators haunt the margins, marabou storks, jackals, hyenas, but high salinity and knee-deep gluey mud keep most teeth at bay. If water levels crash and the moat fails, colonies can fall, so flamingos read rainfall like scripture and shift lakes when needed. While lions and hyenas work the plains for foals and calves, out here chemistry and community keep the tiniest flamingos standing. A flamingo colony is a pink parliament that votes with feet, voices, and perfect timing. Lesser flamingos travel in vast flocks, then tighten into dense breeding colonies when alkaline shorelines and water depth hit the magic mark. Courtship begins as a mass performance, head flagging, wing salutes, and synchronized marching, until pairs click and start stacking mud into knee-high cones. One egg, 2 attentive parents. They swap incubation shifts, rotating to keep the shell shaded from searing sun and safe from sudden floods. Chicks hatch gray and soft-billed, and for a few days ride high on a parent's feet, fed rich red crop milk. Then the nursery goes supersized. Creches of thousands waddle under the guard of rotating adults, while moms and dads find their own chick by voice in a crowd that looks identical to everyone else. Predators haunt the edges, marabou storks, jackals, hyenas, but the colony's best defense is location and scale. A caustic moat of soda water that burns paws, long sight lines, and a chorus that spots danger early. If the lake draws down and the moat fails, losses can be brutal. So flamingos read rainfall like scripture and shift en masse to safer pans, Ndutu, Masek, or the great fortress of Lake Natron, because in a world where the deadliest hunters target baby animals, The first rule is keep the nursery hard to reach. Lesser flamingos are the Soda Lake's cleanup crew and color wheel. By filtering billions of cyanobacteria and microalgae with a specialized upside-down sieve bill, they control blooms that would otherwise choke shallow waters, holding eutrophication at bay. Their constant scything stirs nutrients, their guano fertilizes mudflats, and their movements shuttle energy from lake to land as jackals, raptors, and scavengers cash in on natural losses. Evolution tuned them for this tough niche. Salt glands above the eyes weep brine like tiny desalinizers. Alkali-tough skin on legs and feet shrugs off caustic water. Long legs and webbed feet spread weight over gluey mud, and those conical mud nests lift eggs above heat and splash. Flocks roam hundreds of miles to track mineral chemistry and water levels, choosing lakes, Ndutu, Masek, Natron, where predators hesitate and food blooms. The real threats are not talons but taps, altered inflows, disturbance at breeding sites, and changing climate that scrambles the delicate recipe of depth, wind, and salt. In a land where hungry eyes search for the smallest and weakest, flamingos answer with chemistry, choreography, and courage. Pink citizens building floating cities so their chicks can stand. They are a reminder that when we protect the water's balance, beauty survives the teeth at the edge. A calf hits the ground, blinks dust from its lashes, and the clock starts. In a place where lions, hyenas, and cheetahs listen for new heartbeats, survival is not a sprint, it is a stampede. Meet the blue wildebeest, also called the common wildebeest, of the Serengeti Masai Mara system, with the Ndutu Plains as its nursery. A migration specialist more than 1 million strong, it times birth with rain, grass, and an army's worth of neighbors to outnumber even the world's deadliest predators. Painted in slate gray with shadowy vertical stripes and a darker shoulder cape, the blue wildebeest looks like a muscle car built for the open plain. The front half is all business. Heavy neck, thick forequarters, and a shaggy throat beard, while the rear is lean, tuned for efficient, mile-eating strides. Both sexes carry horns, broad at the base, sweeping out and then inward like a set of parentheses ready to close on trouble. A stiff black mane and a long switch-tailed flag ride the wind. Splayed, shock-absorbing hooves grip dusty pans and muddy flats alike. Inside, the design is a marathoner's dream. Elastic tendons, deep lungs, and a big heart that keeps a steady engine running hour after hour. The muzzle is built for lawn mowing short, protein-rich grasses that erupt after rain. The rumen handles a conveyor belt of chew, swallow, ruminate, repeat. Calves arrive in camouflage, tawny and clean-smelling, and imprint on their mother's voice within minutes. Ears and eyes sweep a wide arc, and that nose reads lions on the wind long before claws turn up. This story peaks at Ndutu, where synchronized birthing turns the plain into a nursery with a battle plan. From roughly January to March, after the rains paint the grass electric green, more than 500,000 calves drop. Sometimes over 8,000 in a single day for 3 straight weeks. Nearly 80% of all births happen here. It is called prey swamping. Too many meals for the predators to manage at once. Lions, cheetahs, and hyenas still cut deep. Roughly 40% of calves may be taken in the frenzy, but the majority make it past the most dangerous weeks because math, for once, favors the vulnerable. A wildebeest newborn is up in minutes, wobbling, then trotting, then slotting into the living river of legs before a hunter can isolate it. Mothers keep a tight audio lock, low grunts and soft bellows, and will wheel to defend, horns down, if a cat presses too close. The herds move as rolling confusion, thousands wide, a visual noise that makes it hard for predators to pin a single calf. Days are built around grazing and shade, feeding in the cool mornings and late afternoons, drifting to open ground where eyes work best, avoiding thick cover where ambush lives. When danger breaks the horizon, the answer is motion. Tight turns, sudden surges, and a rising wall of hooves that turns a clean attack line into chaos. In a land where baby animals draw every hungry gaze, the wildebeest wins with timing, numbers, and the fastest first steps in the business. Blue wildebeest run on simple rules executed at massive scale. Herds are fission-fusion, females and calves forming the core, swelling and thinning with grass and danger, while bachelor males drift along the margins. When the rains flip the Ndutu Plains green, the social script tightens. Synchronized calving turns the landscape into a nursery with a crowd-sourced defense. More than 500,000 calves hit the ground across a few explosive weeks, over 8,000 some days, and nearly 80% of them are born right here. Mothers lock onto their newborns with low grunts and scent. Within minutes, the calf stands, wobbles, and plugs into the moving shield of bodies. Predators key in on baby animals, lions, hyenas, cheetahs, but the wildebeest answer with confusion by design. Adults bunch and flow, surging as one so a clean attack line blurs into hooves and dust. A mother will wheel and jab with her horns, then melt back into the herd before a cat can isolate her calf. Outside the calving window, Males stake small, shifting territories along green corridors, advertising with snorts, dung piles, and head-toss duels. But when the migration rolls, hierarchy gives way to volume, the safety of thousands thinking in the same direction. Wildebeest are the metronome of the Serengeti. By mowing short, nutrient-rich grasses and moving in colossal waves, they create and refresh grazing lawns that feed gazelles, zebras, and a chorus of insects and birds. Their dung and urine lay down fertilizer. Their hooves churn soil, bury seeds, and carry nutrients across hundreds of miles. A living conveyor belt that keeps the system young. The calving pulse is a feast and a filter, a prey swamping event that sustains lions, hyenas, and cheetahs, even as the majority of calves slip through, about 40% lost in the frenzy, roughly 60% living to see year one. Adaptations make the math work. Endurance engines, splayed hooves for mud and pans, a nose that finds fresh growth after distant rain, and babies built precocial, standing in minutes, trotting in hours. The biggest threat is not a predator, it is fences and broken corridors. Keep the path open and the grassland breathes. In a place where the fiercest hunters listen for newborn hearts, the wildebeest answers with timing, togetherness, and unstoppable motion. A reminder that sometimes survival is not about one hero, but a million small choices moving as one. The dry season squeezes the plains thin, and every newborn heartbeat sounds loud in the grass. When the world's deadliest predators tune in, this little antelope answers with silence, camouflage, and a takeoff speed that turns panic into geometry. Meet the Thompson's gazelle of the Serengeti Olduvai Flats, a lightweight sprinter with a bold black side stripe and a white rump that flashes warning across the herd. One of the fastest hoofed mammals on Earth, it survives where lions, hyenas, and cheetahs hunt the young first. Drawn in the colors of heat, the Thompson's gazelle wears a tan to rufous coat over a clean white belly, split by that signature charcoal stripe. Adults stand around 2 feet at the shoulder and weigh roughly 35 to 64 pounds. Minimalist design with maximum output. Both sexes carry ringed, lyre-curved horns, thicker and longer in males for ritual duels and last-ditch defense. Long, springy legs, elastic tendons, and a deep chest housing high-octane lungs, and heart fuel bursts up to 50 miles per hour, with enough agility to carve hard angles mid-stride. Narrow hooves bite baked soil. Big, dark eyes and swiveling ears scan nearly 360 degrees, turning the horizon into a live radar. The white rump patch doubles as a signal flag when danger stirs. Skin and build shed heat quickly, and efficient kidneys plus a talent for pulling moisture from plants cut trips to risky water holes. Fawns come camouflaged, pale, with soft-edged markings, and vanish into the grass by going perfectly still, a disappearing act sculpted by generations of close calls. Life is scheduled around cool light. Thomson's gazelles feed at dawn and dusk on short, high-nutrition grasses, switching to dry blades and low shrubs when the world turns brittle. They drink when it is safe, but often live off the water locked inside leaves. Typical groups run 10 to 50 strong, fission-fusion bands that flex with grazing and danger. As the dry season tightens, they swell into larger herds and shadow the migrations of wildebeest and zebras, gaining safety in numbers and extra eyes. Vigilance is shared labor. Heads rotate, tails flick, and a single snort can flip the whole unit from calm to kinetic. Calving is stealth. A mother parks her fawn in the grass, nurses, grooms away scent, then drifts off to graze so prowling cats and hyenas key on her, not the baby. If a hunter breaks cover, the playbook opens. Rump patches flash, adults bunch, and then the sky fills with dust as the herd detonates. The calf runs first, flanked by escorts. Everyone else throws sharp zigzags that tangle a cheetah's line and burn its short fuel. Sometimes they add stotting, high, stiff-legged bounds that say, "Wrong target." On most evenings, the grass closes, the wind cools, and a small survivor breathes into tomorrow. Thomson's gazelles live by the rule of many eyes. Most days, they travel in small, flexible bands of 10 to 50, breaking and rejoining as grass thins, then swelling into larger herds when breeding season hits or the dry months squeeze the plains. When the land gets brittle, they shadow wildebeest and zebras, safety in numbers, and a moving wall of watchfulness. Vigilance is shared labor. Heads lift in sequence, ears swivel, and one sharp snort can flip a whole field from calm to coordinated flight. Territorial males pace the best patches, leaving scent marks and dung posts like occupied signs, while bachelor groups ghost the edges and practice horn etiquette. Motherhood is stealth and timing. A fawn is parked low in the grass, nearly scentless and still, while the doe grazes at a distance and slips back to nurse on a tight schedule. If danger rises, lion, hyena, or a cheetah running on rocket fuel, the herd closes ranks. Adults bunch and face out, rump patches flash, and the escort forms around the youngster. Then comes the geometry. Zigzags, hard cuts, and decoy sprints that force a predator to burn its short fuse while the smallest legs buy tomorrow. In the Serengeti web, Thomsons are both gardeners and currency. By clipping short, high-nutrition grasses and turning to dry blades and low shrubs when times are lean, they prevent bush from choking the plain and make room for fresh growth. Their passage stirs the topsoil, their pellets feed it, micro-fertilizer that jump-starts new shoots for everyone from zebras to insects. And they are a cornerstone prey species, converting sunlit grass into energy that powers lions, hyenas, and cheetahs, especially during the calving pulse when young are most at risk. Their survival kit is tuned to a harsh brief, a light, efficient body, long elastic legs, and lungs and heart built for high-octane sprints up to 50 miles per hour. They sip water straight from plants to avoid risky water holes, and they trust a two-part defense: camouflage for the fawns, vigilance and coordinated movement for the herd. Even their famous zigzag is an adaptation, a stamina play that turns a faster hunter's straight line into a losing equation. Small, quick, and composed under pressure, the Thompson's gazelle is a reminder that in a world where baby steps attract the fiercest eyes, community, timing, and clean horizons can turn fear into another sunrise. They embody the spirit of agile resilience, light on the land, vital to its balance. The river is quiet until it bites. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, the Nile crocodile turns a calf's first swim into a final exam with no retakes. Meet the Nile crocodile of the Serengeti's western corridor, especially the Grumeti River, a slow, dark ribbon that swells with the rains. When wildebeest and zebra herds pile in, calves at their mother's knees, this ancient ambusher takes its place beneath the surface. Think submarine in scales. A big Nile crocodile can stretch close to 20 feet and approach a ton. Olive-brown armor studded with bony scutes that shrug off hooves and teeth. Eyes and nostrils sit on top like periscopes, so the body disappears while the sensors stay above water. A third eyelid, the nictitating membrane, slides over the eye like a swim goggle, and a clever palatal valve blocks the throat, letting the croc clamp down underwater without drowning. The tail is half the body and all the engine, thick muscle that launches 40 sudden yards like a torpedo. Conical, pressure-resistant teeth grip rather than slice. New ones grow as old ones break. The bite is industrial, thousands of pounds per square inch of crunch that turns bone into trivia, while death rolls twist off limbs or carve big prey into swallowable chunks. Heat management is simple and effective. Bask like a solar panel, gape to vent, then slip back into a thermally stable river that keeps the muscles primed for ambush. With slow metabolism and ample fat stores, this reptile can coast for weeks, months even, between big wins. Patience does the hunting. Crocodiles stake out bends, eddies, and narrow crossings along the grumeti, settling into mud with only eyes and nostrils showing. They raid the water, vibrations of hooves, the panicked rhythm of a calf, and wait for the single mistake. The strike is pure physics, a surge, a snap, a dragging turn that yanks prey off balance and under. Calves and yearlings are the easiest math in a chaotic herd. One misstep, one mother separated by current, and the river decides. A throat clamp finishes the small. Larger animals meet the roll, spins that dismember or drown with merciless efficiency. Pieces too big to swallow get wedged under logs to soften, a macabre pantry for leaner days. Outside the migration, life slows. Crocs bask to warm up, cruise at dusk for fish, terrapins, birds, and the occasional unwary antelope. They can stay submerged for long stretches, surfacing in slow motion to sip air before sinking again. Females bank nests of sand and vegetation above floodline, guard them like vaults, and ferry squeaking hatchlings to the water in a mouth that can crush a buffalo, but holds a baby like glass. When the crossings return, so does the ambush. The river looks calm. It is not. Nile crocodiles live like lone ambushers, with a crowd's patience. Along the grumeti in the western corridor, hierarchy is simple. Size is law. The biggest males claim the best eddies at crossing points and the choicest cuts on a carcass. Smaller adults and subadults hang back, snatching scraps or waiting their turn. Social talk is bass and bubbles, deep bellows that shiver the water, head slaps, and humming vibrations that stake out space, especially in breeding season. Courtship happens in the shallows, pairs circle, touch jaws, and slide side by side before mating in the water. Motherhood is where the armor softens. Females mound sand and vegetation above the floodline, then stand watch for roughly 3 months while monitors, mongooses, and marabou test the perimeter. At hatching, the nest erupts with peeps. She excavates the chamber and ferries the young to the river in a mouth that could snap bone, but cradles neonates like porcelain. Hatchlings often gather in creches guarded by 1 or more adults, a living nursery in the reeds. At big kills, feeding looks chaotic, but follows a rough etiquette. One animal at a time, gripping and rolling until chunks tear free, then another moves in. Crocs will tolerate hippos nearby and vultures on the banks, but respect is conditional. A tail flick or a sudden lunge redraws boundaries fast. And when the migration funnels calves to the water's edge, these reptiles share only one relationship with the herds: predator and passage. As apex auditors of the river, Nile crocodiles shape who crosses, where, and at what cost. By taking the unwary, the weak, and, during the crossings, the smallest calves, they cull surges in herbivore numbers and push herds to safer fords, preventing destructive overgrazing along fragile banks. Their kills and natural deaths fuel an entire cleanup crew: catfish, terrapins, marabou storks, vultures, hyenas, moving energy from the plains back into the water. The Croc's toolkit makes it inevitable. Armor of bony scutes, a palatal valve that lets it clamp prey underwater, a nictitating membrane for clear vision in the strike, and one of the strongest recorded bite forces on Earth. A slow metabolism and stable river temperatures let it wait weeks or months between meals, spending energy only when payoff is likely. In heavy migration years, thousands of wildebeest and zebra perish in the crossings, while the majority still make it through. An annual pulse that the crocodiles both trigger and tidy. Threats come mostly from us: nets, water diversion, and conflict. Keep the river whole, and the balance holds. Ancient patience meets newborn urgency at the river's lip, and the Nile crocodile is the law in that thin, dark line. It reminds us that in a world where baby steps can summon teeth, power is oldest when it is quiet, and survival belongs to those who read the water first. What is deadlier than teeth? Organization. When the nursery moves, wobbly legs and wide eyes, the savannah's strategist reads a stumble from 100 meters and turns patience into power. Meet the spotted hyena of East Africa's open plains and river corridors, from the Serengeti's western passage to Olduvai Gorge. A matriarchal hunter with a sloped silhouette and an infamous laugh that is really a coded message, she rewrites what a top predator looks like, especially when the target is young, tired, or unguarded. Built like a front-loaded bulldozer, the spotted hyena wears a tawny coat freckled with chocolate spots, a thick neck, and that unmistakable downhill profile. Longer forelegs over shorter hind legs that tilt the body forward like a living battering ram. Evolution stacked muscle across the shoulders and chest, feeding jaws that can crush over 1,000 pounds per square inch, enough to open bones like seed pods and turn tendons into thread. The skull is reinforced, the molars broad and brutal, the bite a toolbox for both hunting and cleanup. Skin is thick, a natural flak jacket against teeth and thorns. Non-retractable claws work like cleats, gripping dust and grass during punishing chases, while tough pads shrug off hot ground and jagged soil. Ears are radar dishes. Night-tuned eyes harvest moonlight. A nose can read meat on the wind from miles away. Inside, chemistry completes the design. Stomach acids so fierce they dissolve hooves, cartilage, and rancid flesh that would floor other carnivores. Everything about this body is purpose-built for endurance, steady speed, tight turning, and fuel efficiency. So the hunter can keep asking the same question until a calf, a weakling, or the simply unlucky gives the only answer that matters. Life starts under the earth. Hyena cubs are born with eyes open and teeth already peeking through, a head start that comes at a price. Milk is among the richest in the mammal world, but limited. In cramped tunnels, siblings may fight until only one survives. It is not malice, it is triage. For weeks they remain den-bound, growing in the half-dark. By 2 to 3 months, they emerge into the clan, where play is not cute but curriculum. Short sprints, mock ambushes, and endless watching of the veterans. Most action happens after dusk. Spotted hyenas do not gamble on single strikes, they run plays. A scout group probes a herd, reading the language of legs. They test, feint, and look for the unsteady. Newborn wildebeest tucked behind the wave of bodies, an impala fawn a step out of position, a zebra foal lagging in mud. When the weakness shows, formation clicks into place. Some drive from the rear, others slice across flanks, still others block the exit. The goal is not glamour, it is attrition. Hyenas win by miles, not meters, wearing prey down until a mistake writes the ending. During the great crossings, they skate the river margins for the exhausted and injured. At dry season waterholes, they calculate around lions and crocodiles, stealing when smart, fighting when numbers say yes. Communication is constant, glances, tail flags, posture, and that famous laugh can broadcast stress, status, and identity, even reshuffling roles mid-chase. Between hunts, they patrol huge ranges, scent mark paths, and clean the battlefield, erasing carcasses that would breed disease. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, the hyena's edge is not cruelty. It is coordination, stamina, and knowing exactly when a wobble becomes a window. This is a monarchy, not a mob. Spotted hyena society is ruled by females, with rank inherited like a surname. At the top, a matriarch sets the tempo: who eats, who moves, who gets back up. Her daughters slot in just beneath her. Even young princesses outrank full-grown males. Down the ladder, the offspring of low-status females hustle for every mouthful. Males, meanwhile, live on probation. When they mature, they leave home, approach a new clan with bowed heads and soft whoops, and wait, sometimes for months, for permission to stay at the very bottom. The den writes the first chapters in hard ink. Milk is rocket fuel, but limited. Sibling rivalry can turn lethal, a grim filter that forces strength early. Once above ground, lessons arrive fast. Cubs, shadow-seasoned hunters, play fight in sprints and ambush drills and learn the clan's language, tail banners, ear angles, and those famous laughs and whoops that carry identities, moods, and status across miles. In clashes with lions, order wins the day. No hero charges, just coordinated pressure until the numbers tip. In hunts, the same. Flankers, blockers, closers, each hyena a moving piece in a living playbook. Hyenas are the savanna's regulators and recyclers. Yes, they hunt, often with success rates that embarrass big cats, and targeting newborns or weakened calves is part of how nature prunes populations, shunting energy into the food web. But their superpower is cleanup. With bone-crushing jaws and acid-strong stomachs, they vaporize carcasses other predators cannot stomach, hooves, cartilage, rot, and all, short-circuiting outbreaks of disease and returning nutrients to the soil. Around river crossings or drought pools, they harvest the exhausted, then erase what is left so nothing festers. Adaptations make it possible. Endurance engines in front-heavy bodies, non-retractable cleat claws, night-tuned senses, and a nose that reads meat on the wind from miles away. Social algorithms do the rest. Clans of 10 to 80 coordinate to outmaneuver lions on land and dodge crocodiles at the margins. Their true threats are myth and squeeze, persecution, poisoning, and shrinking habitat. Protect the corridors, and the night's sanitation crew keeps the whole system breathing. Miscast as villains, spotted hyenas are actually the savanna's strategists, proof that deadly can be disciplined, necessary, and astonishingly intelligent. When baby animals tip the scales of life and death, they remind us that survival is a hard arithmetic, and balance depends on those brave enough to do the difficult work. Dawn hits the water and tiny crowns catch fire. In a world where the deadliest hunters watch for baby steps, the gray-crowned crane chooses a nursery with built-in bodyguards, mud, distance, and a chemistry moat. Meet the gray-crowned crane of East Africa, Lake Ndutu, Lake Masek, and the swampy seams of the southeastern Serengeti. Also called the crowned crane, or African crane, it is a symbol of grace welded to grit, thriving where shallow water, thick grass, and rich mud turn survival into an elegant dance. Stand eye to eye with royalty. About 3 feet tall and 7 to 8 pounds, the gray-crowned crane wears a sunburst diadem of stiff golden feathers that looks delicate but shrugs off rain and wind. A gray cloak drapes the body. White wings flash panels of black, and depending on the light, warm chestnut and gold. Formal wear for a wetland ballroom. On the face, a white cheek patch frames a bright red inflatable throat lappet, the built-in amplifier for those resonant calls that stitch pairs together across reeds. The bill is straight and neat, perfect for precise picking. Seeds one moment, a frog the next. Evolution gave this crane a trick most of its cousins lack: a long hind toe that wraps branches, letting it perch in trees. That simple claw upgrade is a lifesaver. Roosting above ground keeps fox-level teeth and jackal paws at bay. Long, strong legs wade through ooze and give it a stomping option. Tap dance a patch of water, and insects make that one bad move. Broad wings, up to 6.5 feet across, lift the bird clean over flood and grass, while keen eyesight and a high head keep a constant scan running. Nesting mounds, elevated piles of reeds and aquatic plants, turn soggy risk into climate control, raising eggs above flash floods and sun-baked mud. It is beauty painted by function. Every feather and toe speaks wetlands fluently. Morning on Ndutu is a duet. Pairs step through the shallows, heads bobbing, legs stirring leaves, picking a menu that shifts by season. Grasses, seeds, roots, beetles, crickets, frogs, even small crustaceans. They are adaptable omnivores, thriving where other specialists falter. When the light softens, dawn and late afternoon, they feed. In the heat, they rest or preen. At night, they often rise to tree perches that turn ground predators into spectators. Courtship here is theater. The crane's famous dance, head flagging, bows, leaps, and wide wing salutes, plays like joy and functions like glue, tuning a pair for the season ahead. Those resonant calls, sometimes in near unison, carry across reeds like a living metronome. Once bonded, cranes pick shallow water or swamp to build a nest, stacking reeds into a high, buoyant mound. 2 to 5 eggs is typical. Both parents incubate, trading shifts to balance sun and storm. Chicks hatch downy and quick, shadowing their parents through ankle-deep mazes. When danger pricks the air, marabou, stork circling, jackal at the fringe. Adults posture tall, call hard, and may even use distraction runs to draw threats away from the brood. In a landscape where lions and hyenas scan the plains for foals and calves, crane families lean on different math. Wetlands as moats, trees as bunkers, vigilance as armor. The Serengeti's bird corridor funnels more than 450 species through these waters. Crowned cranes fit the traffic with easy grace. They will gather loosely where food is rich, then defend space when nesting begins. Day by day, step by careful step, they turn shallow lakes into safe classrooms, teaching their young to forage, to listen, and to read the wind before the teeth do. Gray-crowned cranes build their lives in pairs, vows written in water and wind. Most bonds last for years, sealed by daily duets and those elegant dances, bows, leaps, wing salutes, that tune two birds into one unit. When the season turns, they stake out shallow marsh or swamp along Lake Ndutu and Lake Masek, weaving reed mounds high enough to lift 2 to 5 eggs above sudden floods and scorching mud. Both parents share everything: incubation shifts, predator watch, and the careful shepherding of downy, precocial chicks that can follow within hours. At the hint of danger, marabou circling, jackal testing the fringe, adults stand tall, trumpet hard, and may feign injury to pull teeth away from the brood. Nights often end in trees, a privilege granted by that crane-only hind toe, where fox-level threats become stories told from above. Outside breeding, families gather into loose flocks and forage side by side. But when the world's deadliest hunters target baby animals on the plains, crowned cranes answer with wetlands as moats, teamwork as armor, and vigilance that never blinks. These cranes are wetland caretakers with crowns. By picking seeds and stirring mud for insects and small amphibians, they control pest populations, disperse plants, and keep Ndutu's shallows productive. Their presence signals healthy water. Gray-crowned cranes vanish when wetlands are drained or polluted, so they serve as living gauges for the Serengeti bird corridor that funnels 450 species through these lakes. Evolution fitted them to this niche: long legs for wading, a tree-gripping hind toe for safe roosts, broad wings to hop floodlines, and flexible diets that ride out boom and bust rains. They shift locally with water levels, choosing chemistry and depth that keep chicks out of reach. Endangered under the IUCN, they face habitat loss, water diversion, and disturbance. Protecting reed beds and natural flows at Ndutu, Masek, and beyond guards an entire web, not just a crowned silhouette. On edges where hungry eyes patrol for the smallest lives, the gray-crowned crane turns grace into a shield. It stands as a symbol that beauty, defended by wise choices and good water, can keep tomorrow alive. Look up. Those tiny black commas circling the blue aren't waiting for drama. They're reading it. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, Ripple's vultures ride the heat to the aftermath, turning chaos into clean lines. Meet the Ripple's griffin vulture of the Serengeti's western corridor, shadowing the Grumeti River and the migration routes that pour calves and foals toward danger. highest flying bird on record, about 37,000 feet. This old-world vulture is the sky's quiet first responder when a crossing goes bad. Nature built a long-distance recycler. With a wingspan that can stretch to roughly 8.5 feet, Ruppel's vultures are all glide and efficiency. Broad-fingered primaries catch thermals, a deep chest houses the engines to stay aloft for hours, and a squared tail trims like a rudder. The plumage looks like storm clouds stitched with light, chocolate and slate mottling on the back, paler panels on the wings, a creamy ruff at the neck's base. The head and much of the neck are bare, a sanitary design that slips into carcasses without matting feathers. Up front, a heavy, hooked beak rips tough hide. Behind it, a capacious crop stashes meals for the road. Inside is the magic. Acid-strong stomachs and ironclad immunity neutralize anthrax, botulism, and a cocktail of pathogens that would drop most animals. Their blood chemistry is tuned for the heights too. Hemoglobin with high oxygen affinity lets them skim the ceiling of Africa, where thin air grounds other birds. Feet are built for walking and bracing, not killing, because their job isn't to make the mess, it's to finish it fast. Morning is a flight plan. As the sun warms the plains, Ruppel's vultures spiral up on thermals, scanning miles of grass and ribboned water. They read the Serengeti like a living map, dust plumes that mean moving herds, the circling of other vultures, the dark knot of lions or hyenas settling to feed. When a calf stumbles in the grumeti or a wildebeest drowns at a tight ford, they tilt and drop, parachuting into the scene with wings set and eyes locked. Etiquette is brisk. A few bold birds probe first, then the flock surges in. Mantling wings, hissing, and short shoves establish order, and the work begins. Hide opened, soft tissues cleared, bones polished. A wildebeest can vanish to the ribs in under half an hour, denying bacteria the same feast and stripping disease from the landscape. They'll also snap up afterbirth, trailing a herd, or the stillborn losses of a hard night. Nature's sanitation crew, trailing risk at a respectful distance behind teeth. Between booms, they perch on cliffs or stout trees, preen the alkaline dust away, and share thermals like highways with white-backed and hooded vultures. Water stops are brief. Drink, bathe, lift. On the breeding cliffs, far from the rush, a single egg sits on a ledge, and parents trade shifts, feeding the chick by careful regurgitation. But when the season turns and the crossings roar, daily life collapses into a simple rhythm. Climb, watch, descend, and erase the evidence of a harsh lesson before the next one begins. Ruppel's vultures live by two compasses: the cliff and the crowd. Pairs form long-term bonds on sheer breeding cliffs far from the rush, laying a single egg and sharing everything: incubation, guard duty, and months of careful throat-deep feedings by regurgitation until the chick can launch. At dawn, they leave as a community, spiraling into kettles that read the Serengeti's thermals like highways. Information flows in the air. One bird, dropping with purpose, pulls others into a widening spiral over the grumeti. On the ground, the etiquette is elbows. Lions and hyenas eat first, then the cleanup crew moves in, ripples alongside white-backed, hooded, and sometimes a lappet-faced vulture that opens the hide. Hisses, head jerks, and wing-mantling sort rank. Everyone grabs, braces, and makes room for the next bite. Along sandy banks and calm water pockets where failed crossings pile up, they work shoulder to shoulder with marabou storks, keeping a wary eye for a late returning predator. It's a society stitched by trust in the spiral and discipline on the carcass. Find together, feed fast, and leave clean. They are the Serengeti's emergency crew, erasing rot before it spreads. A flock can strip a wildebeest in half an hour, removing reservoirs for anthrax, botulism, and pasteurellosis, and returning nutrients to soil and water. High-efficiency flight, 8.5-foot wings, thermal soaring, and hemoglobin tuned for thin air, lets them scan tens of miles with minimal effort, while acid-strong stomachs and heat-tolerant microbes neutralize toxins most animals can't touch. Bare heads stay sanitary inside carcasses. Powerful beaks finish what big cats leave. In the western corridor, they track carcass pulses along the grumeti's bends, turning mass drownings into recycled energy for grass, insects, fish, and, eventually, the herds again. The danger isn't competition, it's us. Poisonings at baited carcasses, electrocution, disturbance on cliffs. Listed as critically endangered, they survive where anti-poison patrols, safe power lines, and community outreach keep the sky's custodians alive. When the deadliest hunters take their toll, often the young, the Rupel's vulture arrives not as a villain, but as mercy with wings, closing wounds in the landscape before they infect the future. Protect the spiral above the grumeti, and you protect the cradle below. When predators go shopping for the smallest hooves, the savanna rolls out an optical illusion. Black and white turns into moving static, and a foal gets one more heartbeat to learn the meaning of run. Meet the plains, zebra of the southeastern Serengeti and Ndutu, where rains flip the short grass electric green, and as many as 200,000 stripes flow across the flats. In a world where lions, hyenas, and cheetahs target baby animals first, this grazer survives with motion dazzle, tight teamwork, and a very serious kick. The plains zebra is a study in high-contrast engineering. Each coat is a custom barcode, bold black and bright white bands that blur together when the herd moves, scrambling a predator's depth perception at the exact moment it needs a clean line to a foal. Those stripes also make life harder for biting flies, who struggle to land on striped air, reducing disease and irritation. An upright, bristly mane runs from poll to withers like a ridge of caution tape, while a thick neck and deep chest power steady ground-eating strides. Eyes sit wide for near panoramic vision. Big, swiveling ears catch the faintest rustle of grass cut by paw. The muzzle is built like a precision mower. Broad incisors nip the upper layers of tough, silica-rich grass. Under the hood, a hindgut fermenter's engine turns bulk into energy quickly, perfect for short grass plains around 4,000 feet, where food is constant but coarse. Hard, narrow hooves grip baked soil and seasonally slick pans. Tendons load like springs for rapid launches. At a sprint, 40 miles per hour is on the menu. Faster is not always necessary when confusion travels with you. Ndutu is the wet season stage, November through May, when about 20 inches of rain nurse the grass back and the zebra lines appear. Orderly, nose-to-tail columns cutting across the plain. Daily life runs on light and wind, grazing in the cool morning and late afternoon, loafing at midday, rolling in dust to shed parasites and lay on a little striped sunscreen. Socially, zebras keep it simple and effective. Small harems led by a dominant stallion with several mares and their foals, fusing into larger bands when the grass is rich or danger rises. Unlike the wildebeest next door, breeding is not crammed into a single window. Mares can conceive year-round. After 12 to 13 months, one foal arrives, stands within hours, and slots into the group before a hunter can memorize its outline. When the world's deadliest predators test the herd, the choreography flips. Adults scatter in jagged bursts to scramble a stalker's focus, then wheel into an outer ring with foals at the center. Alarm barks snap the air. A stallion charges, biting and double-kicking like a sledge with hooves. At water or on the move, zebras and wildebeest work a quiet pact. Zebras scout fresh grass, wildebeest read the water, and together their numbers turn a kill zone into a moving, living maze. Plains zebras keep family simple and tight, a dominant stallion, several mares, and their foals moving as one striped thought. Mares form the backbone, long-term bonds cemented by mutual grooming and travel side-by-side habits, while the stallion rides the edges, reading wind and trouble. Bachelor males trail the margins, testing with squeals and short, hornless shoves. Every so often a mare transfers, but most days the harem holds. Voices matter here. Mothers and foals lock on to each other's calls and scent within hours, a private radio channel that cuts through dust and panic. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, these quiet rituals harden into choreography. If lions push, the unit scatters to scramble targeting, then reforms with adults on the rim and foals tight in the middle. The stallion charges, ears flat, teeth bared, double kicks like a sledge, while mares screen, wheel, and shepherd their young back into the flow. In peak wet season months, many harems fuse into large, orderly bands. 200,000 stripes on the move at Ndutu, multiplying eyes, warnings, and the odds that a small life makes it to dusk. Zebras are lawn managers with a migration map. At roughly 4,000 feet on the short grass plains of Ndutu, they clip the upper, tougher layer of grass, opening the buffet for gazelles to nip the fresh green beneath. Continuous grazing prevents woody takeover. Pathways beaten by hooves guide mixed herds. Dung jumpstarts soil, fueling insects and the birds that follow. Rain from November to May, about 20 inches, pulls some 200,000 zebras here to feed and breed, and their presence resets the system into a stable, productive loop. Adaptations make the machine hum. A hindgut fermenter's engine to process coarse forage fast. Stripes that dazzle predators in motion and confound biting flies. Speed up to 40 miles per hour, and group tactics that turn a clean chase into static. In mixed companies, zebras often lead to new grass, while wildebeest read the water, division of labor that keeps both armies moving and the grasslands breathing. In a landscape where hungry eyes search for foals first, zebras answer with unity and illusion, families stitched by trust, stripes that blur into safety, and a rhythm that keeps the plains alive. They are a reminder that togetherness can outsmart teeth, and protecting their corridors protects the heartbeat of the savanna. Hear that? Not a roar, not a snarl, a sneeze. On Ndutu's open plains, that tiny sound can launch a storm of legs. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, the African wild dog turns teamwork into a rescue-proof equation. Meet the African wild dog of the Serengeti Ndutu Flats, a long-legged endurance hunter built for open country, where Thompson's and Grant's gazelles and, in calving season, blue wildebeest calves dot the grass. Once declared locally extinct in Serengeti National Park in 1992, it remains rare here, but corridors, vaccination, and community protection are helping packs edge back into the ecosystem. Nature painted the African wild dog with a splashy camouflage you can recognize from a mile away and still never predict up close. Each coat is a one-off, patches of black, yellow, and white, broken by a dark mask and a white-tipped tail that flies like a rally flag when the chase is on. At about 30 inches at the shoulder and 44 to 66 pounds, this is a marathoner's build. Narrow waist, deep chest, long limbs with elastic tendons, and splayed, tough pads that eat miles without complaint. Those huge, rounded ears are multi-tools, parabolic microphones for distant hoofbeats and heat radiators that dump excess warmth when the throttle opens. Unlike other canids, wild dogs lack a front dew claw. 4 toes up front make for a cleaner, efficient stride. Inside, big lungs and a strong heart. Feed a persistence engine that can cruise for hours and still explode to 44 miles per hour when opportunity flickers. The jaws are built for fast processing. Blade-like carnassials shear meat quickly so a pack can feed before lions or hyenas arrive. Each dog's pattern is a passport. In a moving hunt, that mosaic helps pack mates track one another through dust and glare, keeping the formation tight even at speed. Daily life is a choreography of distance, decisions, and care. Packs leave their resting thickets at first light and again near dusk, covering 12 miles or more as they read wind, listen for hooves, and check water pans between Lake Ndutu and Lake Masek. The hunt starts with a meeting, chirps, twitters, tail wags, and often sneezes. Those sneezes are not allergies, they are votes. Enough sneezes, and the pack commits. Then the formation unfolds. A lead pair presses the herd, flanking runners angle out, and a closer shadows the chosen target, often a gazelle fawn or a wildebeest calf that strays from its mother in the calving chaos. Ambush is not their style. They push, stretch, and swap roles until the prey's sprint turns into a panting line, and then into surrender. In open country like Ndutu, success can spike to 70 to 80% thanks to perfect teamwork and smart prey selection. Feeding is fast, efficient, and communal. Hunters gorge, then return to the den to gently deliver meals by regurgitation to pups, babysitters, and any injured packmate. No one is left out. Between hunts, they play to keep bonds strong, groom to stay parasite light, and steer wide of lions and hyenas, whose job description includes stealing dinners and ending bloodlines. In a landscape where newborns draw every hungry eye, the wild dog's answer is simple and stunning. Move together, think together, and run until doubt breaks. An African wild dog pack is a democracy with a backbone. Most packs run 6 to 20 strong, centered on a single alpha pair who does the breeding, while everyone else signs on for childcare, hunting, and security. Before a hunt, they gather in a fizz of chirps, tail wags, and yes, sneezes. Those sneezes act like votes. Enough, and the team rolls. When pups are den-bound, 1 or 2 adults stay as babysitters while the rest range out. Success is shared. Hunters return and gently regurgitate meat for pups, sitters, and any injured packmate. Mothers are surrounded by help, and even the strongest take turns playing nurse. Teenagers eventually disperse in same-sex groups to find opportunities beyond their birth pack, stitching gene flow across open country. Around Ndutu, where fawns and calves peak in the wet season, the pack's cooperation becomes a shield and a scalpel. Coordinated runs to feed growing pups, and careful detours to avoid the lions and hyenas that can erase a bloodline in a single clash. On the Serengeti and Ndutu plains, wild dogs are precision managers. By targeting small to mid-sized herbivores, often fawns and calves during peak birthing, they keep numbers in check and prevent overgrazing, which protects the short grass engine that feeds everything else. Their leftovers ripple outward, feeding vultures, jackals, and a whole cleanup crew that recycles nutrients back into the soil. Built for persistence, they cover roughly 12 miles a day, reading wind across the saline edges of Lake Ndutu and Lake Mesek, and turning social decision-making, those quorum sneezes, into smart, low-risk hunts with success rates that can reach 80% on open ground. Big ears dump heat, four-toed forefeet streamline stride, and a lean, long-legged frame pairs 44-mile-per-hour bursts with tireless stamina. The real pressures are outside the chase. Competition with lions and hyenas, disease from domestic dogs, and broken corridors. Challenges conservation now tackles with vaccinations, safe passage, and community stewardship. In a landscape where baby animals draw every hungry eye, the African wild dog answers with unity, proof that fierce compassion and flawless teamwork can keep a fragile species and an entire grassland alive and running. When the world's deadliest predators size up the smallest legs, the biggest bodyguards step forward. At the water's edge, a whisper of lions becomes a wall of tonnage, and the rules change. Meet the African elephant of Olduvai Gorge, where dry season heat from June to October turns rivers into cracked maps and water into currency. The largest land animal on Earth, it carries a 6-foot, 40,000 muscle trunk like a Swiss Army knife, with the authority to decide who drinks and who dares. Sculpted by sun and scarcity, the African elephant can tower to 13 feet at the shoulder and weigh over 12,000 pounds, living architecture that moves. Enormous ears flare like sails, pumping heat away through a maze of blood vessels, while a lattice of wrinkled, mud-streaked skin works as both sponge and sunscreen, trapping moisture and deflecting the furnace of noon. Up front, the trunk is pure engineering. Two finger-like tips pinch grass, rip roots, lift logs, and pull 50 gallons of water a day, or atomize it into a cooling shower. Tusks, sometimes pushing 10 feet, pry bark from acacias, chisel salt from soil, and excavate stubborn stream beds when the last pools shrink to ghosts. Wide, shock-absorbing feet carry them over lava flats and powder dust, yet are sensitive enough to feel vibrations, thunder from far storms, or the distant footfalls of another herd. Keen noses read water hidden under sand, long lashes and heavy brows blunt glare and thorns. Everything here is a solution: radiators, tools, armor, and memory stitched into muscle. In the gorge's dry season, life is a map of old knowledge. Led by a seasoned matriarch, the herd ranges for dozens of miles, revisiting water points she learned years ago. When streams like the Olduvai shrink to whisper, elephants test the soil with their trunks, taste damp on the wind, then dig, front feet stomping, tusks levering, trunk scooping, until a clean, cold lens appears. They drink first, then the savanna gathers. Zebras, antelope, even fish eagles overhead, all cashing in on elephant engineering. Each adult might eat 300 pounds of vegetation a day: grass, pods, cambium stripped from branches, feeding at dawn and dusk, resting through brutal midday, then bathing in dust or mud to cool skin and evict parasites. But when predators hunt baby animals, the mood hardens. Lions test the margins, hyenas skulk for a misstep. The response is choreography. Cows form a ring with calves tight in the middle, trunks low, ears wide, rumbling in voices felt more than heard. One strides out to bluff, another to flank. A mock charge becomes real if a cat does not listen. At crowded pools, even buffalo think twice. Here, patience has teeth made of will, and a trunk that can move earth. An elephant herd is a family with a compass for a heart. A seasoned matriarch leads. Her map is memory, her authority earned in dry seasons like June to October, when Olduvai's streams shrink to sand. Daughters and their calves stay for life, forming a tight-knit core. Adolescent bulls drift into loose bachelor circles, returning to visit or shadow the herd at a distance. Calves grow up cradled in touch, trunks over backs, tail holds, gentle shoves, and guarded by aunties who share babysitting, nudging the little ones to shade, water, or the safe side of the herd. Decisions are democratic but decisive. Low rumbles, head turns, a ripple of movement, and the whole unit rolls out. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, the choreography clicks in. Cows swing into a living phalanx, heads out, calves in the center, while one or two step forward to bluff lions or scatter hyenas with a dust-booming charge. At contested wells, even buffalo give ground to a united front. Afterward, there is a soft reset, trunk-to-mouth greetings, ear touches, a reassuring rumble that says, "We held." And by night, the matriarch positions sentries on the breeze side, spacing rests so a thirsty calf can drink again before sleep. Elephants are the engineers of a thirsty land. With a 6-foot, 40,000 muscle trunk and moisture-sensing feet, they read damp under dry stream beds, then dig, tusks levering, forefeet scooping, until sweet water rises. Those wells become life support for everyone. Zebras, antelope, even fish eagles overhead, proof that one species can keep a landscape breathing. Their daily needs are vast, around 50 gallons of water and up to 300 pounds of vegetation, so they travel dozens of miles, pruning trees, opening paths, and spreading seeds in nutrient-rich dung. Tusks up to 10 feet strip bark other herbivores cannot reach, recycling minerals into the soil. The same wells that save lives also concentrate risk. Predators gather too. Elephants answer with tactics, not panic, rings around calves, controlled charges, and calm, practiced exits. Protection for them is protection for a whole community, and corridors that let a matriarch return to old water are corridors that keep the savanna alive. In a world where hungry eyes test the smallest legs, African elephants are guardians made of memory and muscle. They remind us that true power is not just to drink first, but to make water for everyone when it matters most. How do you raise a newborn where every shadow has teeth? With nerves like wire, a decoy plan in the grass, and legs that learn the meaning of 50 miles per hour before they learn safe. This is the Grant's gazelle of the Serengeti and Olduvai Gorge, compact, agile, and tuned to the heartbeat of semi-arid plains. When the world's deadliest predators hunt baby animals, this antelope answers with stealth, speed, and a herd that thinks in angles. Painted in the colors of hot earth, sand to Rufus on top, snow clean beneath, the Grant's gazelle looks like it was sketched by sun and wind. A bright white rump patch flashes like a signal flag when danger stirs the grass, and bold facial markings cut clean lines along the muzzle and eyes. Lyre-shaped horns, 12 to 14 inches in most females, and longer, thicker in males, rise in elegant curves, ringed for grip in the shoving matches of adulthood. Built light, about 88 to 180 pounds, and long-limbed, it runs on springs. elastic tendons, airy bones, and a deep chest that houses the engine, heart and lungs braided for endurance. High-set eyes scan nearly 360 degrees. Radar-keen ears pivot to collect the whisper of paws or wing. Hooves are narrow and hard, made for speed over baked soil and gravelly pans. Millions of years of East African evolution shaved every gram of excess, leaving a body that wastes nothing, water recycled through efficient kidneys, heat shed by lean lines and smart timing. It is a survival kit you can see from a distance, minimalist, precise, and ready to disappear. Grant's gazelles live by the clock and the horizon. They feed in the cool bookends of the day, early morning, late evening, threading between acacia-dotted flats and valley edges where sparse grasses and drought-hard shrubs push through dust. In Olduvai, they gather in flexible herds of 10 to 30, splitting and rejoining as food shifts. Diet is pragmatic, green blades when rains visit, dry, tough plants when the world goes brown. They sip water when it is there, but often drink through leaves. Moisture pulled straight from food to dodge risky trips to crowded pools. Calving is a lesson in stealth. A newborn lies low, motionless, scent-light, pressed into the pattern of the land, while its mother grazes at a distance, returning to nurse and clean, then melting away again so predators key on her, not the fawn. When an ambush breaks cover, cheetah, lion, hyena, the playbook flips. Adults bunch and face out, then the herd detonates in a blur. The calf runs first, escorted by adults who flank and screen, and if the chase locks on, the zigzag begins, hard cuts that steal a hunter's footing and time. At full tilt, a Grant's gazelle can touch 50 miles per hour, hooves stitching dust, eyes cool, every stride a calculation. Most days end the same way they began, with wind, open ground, and a quiet plan to see tomorrow. Grant's gazelles run a flexible society, fission-fusion herds that swell and thin with food and risk. Typical groups number 10 to 30, a moving quilt of females with young, escorted at a distance by territorial males or shadowed by bachelor bands. When rains green the plains, prime patches become real estate. Mature males stake out territories, scent marking with preorbital glands, scraping soil, and building dung middens that say, occupied. Challenges are formal, stiff leg walks, head tosses, then lyre horn sparring that tests balance and stamina more than brute force. Females drift through these claim checks, voting with their hooves for the safest grass and the clearest lines of escape. Motherhood is stealth. Newborns lie out, flat, scent light, invisible until they are strong enough to keep up. She grazes at a distance, circles back to nurse, grooms to erase odor, then melts away again so prowling hyenas and lions key on her, not the fawn. If a predator presses, adults bunch, face out, and the escort begins. Dominant male on the windward side, vigilant females flanking the calf. Alarm snorts snap across the group. The white rump flashes a visual siren. One beat later, the whole unit writes its answer in dust and angles. Grant's gazelles are grassland editors. By cropping grasses and nibbling drought-tough shrubs, they keep woody plants from overrunning the plain, holding the balance between open pasture and thorny thicket. Their passage aerates soil, pellets fertilize it, seeds hitch rides or pass through to sprout in ready-made nutrient packages. Where herds linger, new growth follows. Good news for zebras, wildebeest, and the insects and birds that cascade after fresh green. They are also a keystone prey base, channeling sunlight up the food web to cheetahs, lions, leopards, and hyenas, especially when calves boom after the rains. Survival here is a design problem they have solved elegantly. Water-stingy kidneys and leaf-drinking habits reduce risky trips to exposed pools. Wide-angle vision and swiveling ears pull threats from the horizon. Springy tendons and a deep chest turn air into speed. And that white rump patch plus tight herd coordination give predators more variables to juggle than they would like. The system works when space, corridors, and quiet calving ground remain. Built for open country and hard decisions, Grant's gazelles are a symbol of composure under pressure, reminding us that in a world where baby steps attract hunters, vigilance, teamwork, and clean horizons can turn fear into another sunrise. A newborn foal wobbles, and the grass holds its breath. Then a roar rolls 5 miles across the Serengeti, an announcement that in a world where the deadliest hunters target baby steps first, the lion is on shift. Meet Panthera leo of the southeastern Serengeti and the open Ndutu Plains. Short grass, scattered bush, and horizons that carry both warning and opportunity. Here, prides of 10 to 15 strong turn teamwork into teeth, hunting zebras, wildebeest, and in calving season, the vulnerable young that stray a step too far. The Serengeti lion is muscle carved for impact. Males tip the scale at roughly 280 to 420 pounds, body length up to 8 feet. Their manes a storm cloud ruff that broadcasts age, health, and heat tolerance to rivals and mates. That mane also adds a padded collar for neck-to-neck fights, though it comes with a cost in cooling, a trade this cat manages with shade, timing, and long, lazy days. Females wear no mane. They are sleeker, built for acceleration and close quarters grappling. Coats run tawny to sand, sun-blended camouflage in short grass, while a black-tipped tail works like a steering flag in chases and a signal baton during coordinated hunts. Paws are broad and padded for silent approach. Retractable claws stay razor-sharp for the moment they need to hook a hawk or pin a shoulder. A heavy forequarter, reinforced by massive shoulder blades and forelimb muscles, delivers the tackle. A skull packed with jaw power and canines finishes the hold. Inside, a big heart and efficient lungs feed bursts of anaerobic power. Night vision is superb, retinas rich in rods and a reflective tapetum latched behind the eye, so dusk and dark tilt the field their way. A sandpaper tongue, armored with backward-facing papillae, strips meat clean from bone. No toolkit required. And that roar? It is a low-frequency thunder that carries up to 5 miles, drawing lines on a map no fence can show. Life runs on light, wind, and opportunity. Lions rest through the heat, sprawled in shade, trading slow blinks and soft grunts, then spark to life in the cool of evening and pre-dawn. Hunts begin with silence and angles. Females spread in a crescent, using Ndutu's ankle-high grass and the wind to erase their scent. One or two drift wide to flank. Another freezes ahead as the ambush post. When zebras or wildebeest edge within range, the trap snaps. A burst, a tackle, a throat clamp. Success hovers near 30%. Better when the target is isolated, young or tired. In calving season, when thousands of wildebeest drop their young on the short grass flats, lions work the perimeter, testing for a calf that lags or a mother whose attention slips. It is the raw arithmetic of the plains. Predators key on baby animals because inexperience creates openings. Big jobs change the cast. When buffalo or a full-grown zebra is on the menu, males often charge in, extra weight turning a maybe into a meal. At the carcass, etiquette is unapologetically practical. Dominant male first, other males next, then the hunting females, then subadults and cubs. Between hunts, roars and scent marks patrol the borders. Skirmishes with hyenas erupt over ownership of meat and reputation. Most nights end the way they began. Dust cooling, stars up, and a pride resetting the map for tomorrow's chase. A lion pride is family with teeth. On the southeastern Serengeti and the Ndutu Flats, a typical pride runs 10 to 15 strong, sometimes swelling to 20 or more, built around related females and their cubs, with 1 or 2 dominant males, often a coalition of brothers holding the deed. Females are the backbone, sisters, mothers, aunts who share hunts, babysit, and even nurse one another's cubs in creches. Newborns stay hidden for weeks. The pride rotates guard duty, and soft grunts keep everyone on the same page. The males are the wall, patrolling borders with scent marks and that 5-mile roar that says occupied, deterring rival coalitions and lurking hyenas. Inside the family, rules can be rough. Takeovers are dramatic and dangerous. New males drive out or kill rivals and may commit infanticide to bring females back into estrus. It is brutal, but it resets the pride's genetics and cohesion. Hunts are choreographed by the lionesses. Big, risky targets like buffalo often pull the males into the scrum. At a carcass, the hierarchy is unapologetic. Dominant male first, other males next, then the hunt team, then subadults and cubs. In a world where the deadliest hunters focus on baby animals, the pride's strategy is simple. Raise cubs in a fortress of kin and answer every threat with numbers and nerve. Lions are the Serengeti's apex auditors, keeping zebra, wildebeest, and buffalo honest and shaping when, where, and how long herds graze. By culling the weak, the sick, and, in calving season, the unguarded young, they prevent booms that would overstrip grasslands, and their leftovers fuel a scavenger economy, from hyenas to vultures. Competition with hyenas, stealing and defending kills, spreads calories wider, faster. They are built for the job. Night-biased vision with a reflective tapetum, a tackle-heavy front end, retractable claws for the clinch, and a social playbook that turns teamwork into a 30% win rate on prey most hunters will not risk. Communication is long-range and loud, roars and scent to hold large territories without wasting energy on constant fights. Around Ndutu, protections and corridor management have helped numbers rebound, but threats persist. Snares, retaliation near livestock, and habitat squeeze. Keep space connected, and the balance holds. The lion is a symbol of strength and balance, tender with its own, ruthless when the moment demands. In a land where baby steps draw the fiercest eyes, a pride reminds us that family, courage, and guarded horizons keep the wild and its future alive. Stormlight rolls over Lobo. The northern Serengeti has just been rinsed by the last rains, and the plains glow a deep, forgiving green. Acacia and croton thickets stitch shade into the grass. Then the sound arrives. Hooves, thousands of them, return migration sliding south, calves tucked close, every step paid for in attention. Everything narrows at a shallow, stony gully, a bottleneck. Zebras mill at the lip, ears pricked. Lionesses flatten into tawny commas where the grass kinks. A foal edges forward. The line snaps. Dust, a flash of mane. The mare pivots and fires, both hind hooves, a thunderclap of bone. The lioness folds away, regrouping. The foal slips through on stilt legs that barely remember how to run. Not every story cashes out so clean. Another foal stumbles on the far bank. A second lioness is already there. Silence. Then the heavy hush of a pride eating. Wildebeest crowd the middle ground. Calves bleating. The herd a living river of indecision. Spotted hyenas arrive like a rumor that grows teeth, surge and encircle. They test the edges, find the gap, cut a calf away. The herd wheels in a dark, muscular wave, but momentum betrays them. The youngster falls. The end is quick because the math is cruel. Above, black commas scribble the sky, Ruppel's vultures reading the outcome before it lands. On the far flat, a wall forms. Buffalo, 200 strong, horns like hooked moons, fold the calves into the center. Lions probe, patient, looking for that one mistake. Bulls drop their heads and roll forward in a short, devastating charge. One lion sails, another sidesteps a raking horn. The pride fades to the thicket. The circle holds. Dawn sharpens, and the open ground becomes a sprint lane. A female cheetah chooses a toppy calf and lights the fuse. 60 miles an hour in a heartbeat. The calf jinks, the cheetah matches. A trip, a tumble, a swift, merciful finish. She drags the prize toward low cover, glancing up because hyenas count minutes like thieves. By noon, the ledger is balanced in feathers. Vultures drop, marabou stride in, the landscape healed of rot before it spreads. A leopard ghosts the croton and vanishes up a trunk with an impala lamb, the last move in a quiet war. We have watched choice and consequence collide. Mothers kicking back the dark, circles closing around the small, hunters burning their limited fuel for one slim win. The theme is not cruelty, it is connection. Herds keep grass honest, predators keep herds honest. Scavengers keep the plains clean. And beyond the camera's edge, people hold the line, protecting flyways for vultures, corridors for migration, and after brutal droughts to the south, helping wild dogs and buffalo reclaim old ground. If this journey moved you, hit subscribe, tap like, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from and which moment held your breath. Share this with someone who knows what a hoof drum sounds like at dawn. The wild does not promise safety. It promises rhythm, loss and rescue, hunger and grace, beating on into the next rain.